Well, picking up where we left off, I was working on these shelves, and little by little I was getting better at cutting out these notches. Much better. The rest of this day, I relaxed, had a bunch of beers, and played around with my speed square and tape measure. Weather's a little bit windy this morning. It's bringing the traffic noise in. It's also about to bring in some weather, so I don't want to do a big setup outside. Last night, I drew out 2 pieces of wood. It's real hard to see because the light in here isn't quite up yet. That's one of the things about this translucent ceiling, is that you have no power over turning it up or turning it off. That should change someday. Anyways, last night I measured them to fit here and here. That'll be the last of the little shelf. The question I have is that late in the day, after about 6 beers, I wonder if my measurements are precise. I think they're more precise than they were in the morning after I had a couple cups of coffee and I still had cobwebs in my brain. Late in the day, that's when I seem to be just chill and relax and I can take my time and get things done right. I'm fixing to cut them out and we'll see how good my drunk measurements are. At least I had sense enough to wait till the next morning to use the circle saw to see how inebriation affects accuracy. I was actually feeling pretty confident. Seems the old cordless saw is doing a little better today too. Did you have a couple drinks last night? One thing I definitely did better this day was to adjust the foot of the jigsaw instead of just lifting it up off of the workpiece when I wanted an angled cut. That can be pretty dangerous. And I must admit, I have a tendency to push my tools sometimes beyond what they were designed to do. Today I kind of did the right thing because I guess I do value my fingers a little bit. Someday we can talk about proper footwear, but one thing at a time, okay? Now I just got to take this thing inside and figure out where it goes, because I'm not exactly certain, you see. One thing I didn't do is mark which side this was. I do have it upside down. There's the problem. Yep, definitely might want to start drinking. I'm going to be measuring. This is me drinking. This is me sober. I'm just kidding. I think what really happened is I had the camera going and I was in a rush versus me taking my time. But yeah, that is pretty neat. Oh yeah. Cool. Now to mind the gaps. I think that might suffice. This part was both frustrating and satisfying at the same time. It was satisfying because I saw a final end to these big ugly seams that were bothering me so much. It was frustrating though because each little tiny piece took an awful lot of attention. So I wound up working on this for at least a day, off and on for a few days, before it was at a place where I was happy with it. This little montage that you see in the next minute or so represents some of the minutiae that you must endure in such a build as this. Back when I was actually doing it, I wished I could have sped it up the way I can now while I'm editing.
keep these little dealies in place, I used Gorilla Glue, which gets all foamy and expands as it dries. That would hide some of the sins. As I clamped them in place, I just kept an eye on them as they dried initially, which was quick. A flat piece of wood under the clamp helped everything stay aligned as it dried up. As slow as this was, it was feeling good because I knew for a long time to come I wouldn't have to look at those damn gaps anymore. Suddenly things started happening actually pretty quick. Maybe because I didn't have the camera on at all times. This quick montage shows me framing out the upper shelves. This felt especially good because this shelf project was starting to wear me out, and there's a lot of other things that needed to be done besides all this.
You know, one of my last jobs was to put decorative stuff on the outside of houses, like big crown molding on a soffit that might not be straight, or a chair rail on a wall that's curved. And the main purpose of these things was to look good. So sometimes you had to put things on not quite level, or you know, you had to carve out the back of something and make it shallower so that it looked straight. There were a lot of tricks that I learned over those years. And thank goodness, because these ribs are all very much individual and they're not quite lined up. Like if you would have put a straight edge on all of these, oh man, they're really far out in places. So I had to take that into consideration when I put these supports up for the shelf, because you know, if that catches your eye, it's just, even if it doesn't catch your eyes, there was people who had no idea when it came to construction or things like that, that would see something and that just doesn't look right. So you had to make it look right. Even if you don't understand what you're looking at, sometimes things can look wonky. So this has been very challenging, trying to get these supports up, especially the ones that are a little bit further up, because it seems like the further up you get, the worse it is. But I'm pleased. I don't think anybody will notice when it's all said and done. Not even yours truly. And that is saying a lot. Let's hope I don't screw these up as bad as I screwed the other ones up. I think eventually, if I keep doing this, I might actually get good at it. At this point, to break the monotony of building shelf after shelf, I decided to switch things up and attach some things to the shelves. Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? This is craziness, crazy.
Once more. Ooh. Bite there. Ah, yes. This is a 12-volt charger. It's a vehicle charger, I guess. DCB 119. I had this in my silver truck, and it ran off of solar, so I always had a way to charge my batteries. And they'll live here. And this, once it's hooked up, once I have solar panels someday, well, this is where that's gonna live. And yes, I threaded out the holes in the feet. Yes, can you see the threads? Only 2 of them are threaded out. I used a tap for that. Yep, too good not to use again. So there it goes. The spade bit countersunk a space for the heads of the 2 bolts that would securely hold this battery charger in place. This now had a home, as I plan to have a home for most of my stuff. Kind of like the ratchet and sockets that I use to tighten the bolts down. Now I should be able to... And I'll just hide this wire eventually, and that should be it.
And then? No and then. That's all I want.
Yeah, right. This is what I've been doing while the camera's off. Got some acetone. I grinded, sanded, and cleaned this area here. You can see some of the foam that I had put in there. Obviously the foam didn't make that waterproof. I don't think that the patch that was on there was waterproof either, though. This is the piece of tin that was on there. I don't really see any adhesive or caulking or anything. And there were 2 drywall screws. Yeah, so now I'm going to fiberglass it. I'm going to use this mat here. Got my scale, some cups, and a chip brush. This is not one of my favorite things to do, but alas, it has to be done. Everything's wet. Got some rain last night. And can't wait to have this shop put together. It's usually pretty easy. I got 3.6 ounces in this cup after I zeroed it out. 3.6 ounces equals 36 drops. I'm right? Now I need, before I mix this, I need a stirrer. Problem with having everything upside down. I got a container of tongue depressors. Why would you need them? Well, for something like this. Where are they? I don't know. Fucking killing me. 1, 2, 3. That's a little extra. Mix this up really well for about a minute. Transfer it to a second cup. Right? Is that how it's done? Go around and see if I can't find my... Nah, whatever. Still a little late for that. This is going to be fun to film because I gotta put the camera up there still. This is what we can do. I can put the camera here and you can watch me go up there and do it from a distance. Okay? Every time I work with fiberglass, I keep telling myself, don't touch your face, don't touch your face, don't touch your face. Obviously, at some point, I touch my face because my face is itchy right now. Or it might just be because I can't touch my face, and that's why I'm itching. Oh, I hate fiberglass. So another thing I did to keep myself busy was to go up and do a little bit more painting. Here you can see the rewarding part, which is taking the masking tape off. Things were starting to roll out of control. I mean, with hanging stuff on the walls, and I was a little premature and put a bunch of stuff up on the shelves. even though the shelves weren't finished, and despite the fact that I can't make a basket worth of help. But I just feverishly wanted to see my plan in the flesh. So this is the plan that I had drawn. You can see there's me and the fancy trusses which are built, and the shelves, and on the workbench there was a kayak, and there it is. I actually did put a kayak in here. Unfortunately, I need the space, so we're gonna get this out of here right now. This was a pretty essential step for me because I wanted to see if I could fit all my fishing gear along with all my tools onto the new shelves. And that includes the vise that I've had since God knows when. It's been in my house since like the turn of the century. That's pretty neat. That still needs to be installed. And so do the solar panels. This is not going to be in here all the time, nor is any other kayak. So let's free up the workbench. By taking the time to stage everything up, I was able to get a glimpse of what the final workshop might look like. And that was very motivating. Now I just had to take everything back out so that I could keep on working. And hopefully we'll get to see some more of that in the next episode. Thanks for coming along, everybody. It's a wonder my back hurts.